All right. So a GPA is a grade point average. What does that mean? What does that mean? What is a grade
Average
point?
grade that you received after all, when you take into account all the classes that you've taken, the letter grade that you've received.
Okay, so we take into account all the classes we've taken, but it's not a letter grade, it's a number.
It's a number, but it equates to a letter grade.
Okay, so let's do this.
4 is a.
Oh, good, very good, very good. Let's create a schedule for a student. Let's create a schedule for a student. Make up some classes they would have taken. So throw a class out there that a student at COCC would take. Math 105. Math 105. What else? History. History, we'll call it, I don't know, 1, 2, 3. 201. That's a real class, right?
In mountain biking.
Mountain biking, HHP 185 MB.
Look at that.
Oh,
That's exciting.
they like me now. All the activity classes for HHP are 185, and they usually have something with the letters at the end of them. So, history, mountain biking, Math 105. Positive psych, what's that? PSY? No, PSY?
Yeah.
What's the number on that one? Nothing that matters. 243 and a half. Good. Good. Is that a good schedule?
Positively wonderful.
Is that a good schedule? That's a good quarter schedule for us. Okay, so you get your transcript back. You get your transcript back from the quarter. Say this is spring 2013. Or no, let's say it's winter 2013 because that already happened. Winter 2013. Okay, and how'd you do? Let's get some grades.
See, everything but math is looking good.
Cheryl, goodness. Getting punchy today. So how we doing Math 105?
B.
Wonderful.
We did B plus.
Oh, I love it.
History 201. History of something and some things. How we do there?
B.
B. We do a B minus just to mix it up a little bit. HHP.
A.
That's an easy class.
Psych.
A.
C minus. just to mix it up a little bit. Scott?
How can you have a B plus when you only get full grades in this class?
I actually give pluses.
Oh, really?
I do. I don't think I told you guys that or not. I don't know if I don't round averages, but when I calculate, actually I don't do anything. Excel does it all for me. I throw your numbers into a spreadsheet, and then I do an if command, and I look at that number. If it's from like 97, I can't give it an A plus, but if it's from 87 to 90, you get a B plus. If it's from 80 to 87, you get a B. I don't give minuses because they hurt your GPA. I try to pad your GPA a little bit in that respect.
So you have an ish part to it?
An ish part. It's actually there's zero-ish in that one. It actually looks at your number and throws it into a range of 7 or 8 different ranges. So that's actually zero-ish at all.
I think ish would be good today.
Well, ish is called the rainy day coupon, which you can use, of course, when you get your stuff back on Tuesday. Okay. What's the student's GPA?
What are each of the grades?
What's that student's GPA? Well, you got B plus, B minus, A, and C.
Is
C
4
minus.
grades.
He's a B student.
He's a B student.
3.0.
3.0.
How many credits is each one of those classes?
Now that's the question. That is the question. The question is not just how the student did in these 4, math, history, HHP, and psych. The question is how much is each of those grades worth when it comes to this calculation of a GPA. What we're talking about, a GPA is an example. It's an example of a weighted average. It's an example of a weighted average. Okay? It's an example of a weighted average. A weighted average, you guys know what an average is. I'm sure you've been taking averages most of your lives. You add a bunch of stuff up and divide by how many you got. A weighted average tells you have to add certain things more than other things. Not everything has the same weight. For example, if I wanted to know the average height of a person in this class, I would simply take each one of your heights, add them all up and divide by 30, or however many folks are here today. Does that make sense? Okay? That's a raw average. A weighted average would mean I'd have to count certain of those values more than others. For example, if Kurt knew that there was someone else that's not present in this class that had the exact same height he does, I wouldn't count Kurt's height just once, I would weight it twice to count for him and the other person who's not necessarily here right now to account for them. So a weighted average is a way of taking data that aren't equally weighted. Weight is the word that's commonly used. And that's what we have to use here with these classes. We have to use the fact that there's a grade, but there's also a credit load for each of them. How many credits is Math 105? 4. How much does it feel like? How much is it actually? It feels like 14. It's actually just 4. History 201. Is that 4 as well? HHP Mountain Biking 185. Psych 243.5. That's also 4. You have to account. Yes, you got an A in your mountain biking class, but that A is only going to count 1/4 as much as the other grades because it's 1/4 as, if you will, heavy. It's 1/4 as credit heavy. Do you know where the credits come from? Theoretically, it's hours in class, but it doesn't work that way with the HHP classes. You actually spend just about as much time in the HHP classes. I take Total Fit here at COCC. It's 4 hours a week. You get 1 credit for it. It's like the hardest 1 credit in your life. Totally awesome. Totally awesome. Still kind of recovering from Tuesday. Anyway, let's do the GPA. Let's do the GPA. Now, this is how I found the clearest way to explain a GPA to students who have never dealt with statistics before. And some of you may have, but I'm guessing a bunch of you haven't. To calculate your average, what it's helpful to do is to create 2 columns, your data and your weights for each of the data points. Little T-table. Kind of like you're doing with X's and Y's, almost exactly the same thing. Just a way to organize data. So over here in blue, I'm going to put the course titles. So you got Math 105, actually just put Math, History, HHP, and Psych. We don't need those for the actual calculation, which is to keep things straight. Now, as far as data, what is math going to be? We know what its weight is going to be. It gets weighted 4 times. And history gets weighted 4 times. HHP gets weighted once. And psych gets weighted 4 times. But what are the data that we're actually averaging going to be? You can't average a B+. So I think somebody, Kelly, you actually start to explain it to us. How is it calculated? What do you do with these letters, these B's and these A's and things? What's an A, you said?
4 points.
An A is 4 points. So this HHP class, we're going to put a 4 there for the A. We'll put a little A in parentheses so you know what the 4 is for. So it's 4 points. It's 4 points. It's grade points, I guess. What's the grade point for a B+?
3.5?
It's 3.67. What they do is they go down by thirds. So A is 4. Excuse me, 3.33. I was wrong. A is 4. A minus is 3.67, B plus is 3.33, B is 3, B minus 2.67, and so forth. Just keep dropping by a third each time. So this math right here, he gets a 3.67 for that B plus, 3.33 for that B plus. Keep saying the wrong thing. The B minus is going to be a third below a 3. There's your 2.67. All right, third below that 3. We got a C minus in psych. Let's think about psych. Psych, well, a C would have been a 2. So it's 1.67. It's right, it's a third below that, isn't it? 1.67. Okay. So it's tempting. It's tempting when you look at this data list. Now, they don't usually show you this. They don't usually show you this on your transcript. They show you that. They show you that in your transcript, and they have this magical GPA that's attached to that. So how are we going to turn that into an average? Where? Multiply what?
Well, 3.3 times 4 across, and then what they'll do is you'll get a cumulative number, and you divide that by however many credits you apply or try.
I love this. I love this. This is perfect, Scott. If you didn't have weights or credits to worry about, you would just go this plus this plus this plus this divided by 4, and you'd be done. But the thing is that you can't go this plus this plus this divided by 4, because that makes it seem like there are 4 total credits out there. How many total credits are there out there?
On your board.
There's 13. So there are 13 total credits. That's what you have to divide by. You have to divide by 13. But then you don't want to go this plus this plus this plus this divided by 13, because you're adding 4 and dividing it by 13. You have to add 13 things and divide those 13 things by 13. And the 13 things, the easiest way, I think Scotty has the easiest possible way to calculate it. Do that times that. So you're not counting 3.33 once. You're counting 3.33 4 times. One for each of the credits that it's worth. Does that make sense? Good. Let's do that over here. Now, if you don't like that multiplication, which you don't have to, but if you don't like that multiplication, you can just write it as 3.33 plus 3.33 plus 3.33 4 times. But again, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to do that. That's why we kind of invented multiplication. So you take your 3.33 4 times, add that to the 2.67, also 4 times, add that to your 1 HHPA of 4, and add that to, what was that G's for? Go ahead. What was that G's for?
I was thinking that loud, I'm like, that's a lot to figure that out.
Well, but it's all arithmetic, and our TIs,
Yeah, it is.
our TIs can bang it out for us in no time. Now, you actually see 13 numbers up there, don't you? You see 4 1.67s, 1 4 2.67s, and 4 3.33s. And altogether, that sums up to 13 individual numbers. They're grouped by class. So now you can divide by that 4 plus 4 plus 1 plus 4, or 13. And this is going to give you what's called your grade point average. That's going to be your grade point average, whatever that works out to be. Let's work it out. We'll throw it up on the screen up here. Okay. Fire you up. Click bar wrapper. So, we got 3.33 times 4 plus 2.67 times 4 plus a 4 times 1, which is 4, plus a 1.67 times 4, and divide all of that by 13. We're looking at a 2.67 GPA. 2.67 GPA. Which might be a tad surprising, because when you first looked at that, I heard a couple, oh, he's a B student.
Yeah,
He's a B student. But that's a high C average, correct? Right? It's a C plus average. So how can you look at this here and have been so misled by that? Let's turn this blank. You look at that originally, you're like, oh my God, it's a B student, right? Because when you guys made that B student call, you didn't have those in front of you. We added those, I believe, after you guys made that call about it. When you look at this, it's like, okay, there's a B plus and a B minus, that cancels and makes a B. Totally fine. You got an A and a C minus, they kind of cancel and make a B too. Well, the problem with that one is, they don't cancel and make a B, do they? One of those A's cancels one of those C minuses, but you've also got 3 more C minuses that now don't cancel with anything. They're just there being C minuses. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
So that's the deal with the weights. Please, Echo, go ahead. Well, if a C, oh, it is a B minus. You're right, it is a B minus. I'm doing my thirds wrong again. Right, I'm doing my thirds wrong. 2.33 would be a C plus. Regardless, though, it's not the 3 that you guys were thinking of it as. It's a little bit lower than you're thinking of because of that C minus being weighted more heavily than the A of the HHP class. Fair enough? So that's your GPA. Now, I'm going to throw one more question at you guys. I didn't post a quiz for next week. I think I will now if you guys want to do one. It'll be a GPA. I'll do a GPA calculation type quiz. Kind of like this.
Do it just like that.
Do it just like, well, I had an idea. Use these classes right here. Now. So we've got his winter 2013 GPA. So his GPA for winter 2013, GPA winter 2013, 2.67. Okay? Let's say the GPA from, how long has he been in school? What do you think? Since when? 12 years?
2 years.
I'm no dummy. What movie is that from? What movie is that
It
from?
was Better Off Dead.
Better Off Dead.
He's on the
I'm no dummy. I've been going to school for 7 years. Let's say I've been here 2 years. Let's say I've been here from winter 2011 up to fall 2012. So that's the term right before winter 2013. And let's say the GPA at that point, the GPA from that point up till now is, I don't know, let's say 2.5. And in that time, from winter 2011 up to fall 2012, we've taken, how many credits have we taken in that time? What do you think? That's a lot of terms, right?
Well, if you went in summer.
Well, let's just assume we went full-time-ish
24.
over that. So you got winter 2011, spring 2011, fall 2011, winter 2012, spring 2000. That's 5 terms, right?
So, maybe
So let's say 60, make it number, 60 credits, 60 credits. 60 credits. Okay. So we got an average GPA of 2.5 over those 60 credits. What's this student's cumulative GPA over that entire time, from winter 2011 through winter 2013? What's their cumulative GPA in that time? Okay? What's their cumulative? And I know I'm not telling you what classes they took, am I? I'm not telling you what classes they took. We have no idea what classes they took. All we know is that they have a GPA of 2.5 over 60 credits. What's their cumulative GPA? Can we just add 2.67 plus 2.5 and divide by 2? Harmony's saying, no, you can't do that rule. Why, Harmony?
I don't know.
You, I don't know. It's wait. Okay, now hang on
But
now.
I don't know.
There was almost no mathematics involved in the exam you guys just took.
Yeah.
I said almost. Why can't we just add 2.67 plus 2.5 divided by 2 and call it done? What when you say that again, Kurt?
They're weighted.
This 2.5 has to count how many times? 60 times. It's got a weight of 60 credits. This 2.67 only gets to count 13 times. So you see how we're going to set this up? You have to set it up in almost the exact same way you set it up with the weights for the individual classes, but you can set it up weighted for the GPAs exactly the same way. Let's come over here to this little tiny bit of board here. It is! It is! Check it out! You've got data. You've got data, and that data has weights. It's all about how many times you count. Your data is simple. It's 2 GPAs. You've got a GPA, a current GPA of winter 2013, and you've got a cumulative GPA of 2.5 up to but not including winter 2013. Let's put that. I'll use my Sharpie. That doesn't erase.
Yeah, it does.
No, it doesn't. Well, it does with the right stuff, which I don't have with me.
But you just put the dry erase marker over it and it wipes off.
You didn't know that? It also works on permanent markers as well.
You're saying if you write over a
So,
Sharpie
okay,
with.
so you wrote with your Sharpie.
I didn't yet. I just go to pick it up and I
you
did. I did.
You either write over it with it, or you can just do a big block out, and it'll wipe clean. It'll erase it off.
Try it.
Once it's dry.
Yeah, try. Come on.
Once it's dry, it's a permanent marker. This is soy-based ink. This is not xylene-based ink that I think you're thinking it is.
In the
Well,
corner.
It's
try it. Yeah,
No, not my building. So, what do you think, Penelope?
Don't you just said instead of that, right?
We're not writing with the Sharpie. That's done. Back on task. So we've got winter 2013, and then we've got winter 2011.
So then your weights are gonna be 13 and 16, so don't you just set up exactly?
It is exactly. That's what I'm trying to make. Yes, I'm trying to make you guys realize there's no difference in what I'm asking you to do here and what you just did with the single term. All you got to do is weight them. This weight gets 13 weights, if you will, and this weight here gets 60 weights. So in other words, your total number of weights is going to be 73 because you took 73 credits over that time. Now I want to come back to this. To show you why you don't actually have to know the individual classes they took. We'll reverse engineer that in a second. But Penelope's got it. All you got to do is you attack it just this way, but you attack it with less data. It's that guy times that guy, plus that guy times that guy, over that guy. And that gives you the overall GPA of the student. So this is just the winter 2013 GPA. Overall GPA.
2.53.
I love it. It's closer to the 2.5 than it is the 2.67. Why?
Because of the weight.
Because there are more 2.5s than 2.67s. Hopefully that makes sense. You've got more 2.5s than you have 2.67, so the average has to be closer to that one than it is to, sure, it's going to be a little bit higher, because this guy is pulling it up a little bit. But they're not equally weighted. It's not directly between the 2.5 and the 2 and 2/3. It's closer to the 2.5 because of the additional weight. So your overall GPA gives you 2.67 times the 13 plus the 2.5 times the 60, all over the 73. And Penelope, you said you got what, 2.53?
Yep.
There you go. It's tricky. Raising GPAs is hard. I mean, right, the 2.67 is a significant jump over a 2.5. It is. I mean, especially when you think about how much effort you put in these classes. It's a significant jump over that. But it's not so much of a jump that it's going to move it significantly in that direction, unless you start doing it repeatedly, term after term after term. Suppose this student, just for example of this, suppose this student crushed winter 2013 and got straight A's across the board. Does that make sense? So they got straight A's across the board in winter 2013. What effect would that have had on their cumulative GPA? What effect would, well, let's calculate it. Let's calculate. So over here, okay? This is the kind of thing you guys need to think about if you're relying on GPA to have an effect on whatever you're applying for your next degrees. Okay, I'm assuming you're all transfer because you're in 105. It's a transfer math class for you. So let's just say this student didn't get B plus B minus A and C. Everything was A. So in other words, let's assume a 4.0 GPA in winter 2013. What effect is that going to have on their overall GPA? Well, I don't know. Let's figure it out. That means our new data is a 4 counted 13 times, but the student still has a 2.5 counted 60 times. Right? Still has this 2.5 counted 60 times. That can't go away. Okay? So these are the weights. So we're still summing to 73. What's their Q now? 2-point GPA from winter 2011 up to winter 2013. Well, you do that guy times that guy. So you have that perfect 4 counted 13 times plus the 2.5 counted 60 times, all over 73. And what does it come out to be, friends? 2.77. So you see, it bumps it up.
Not much.
A quarter of a point, a quarter of a grade point. And that's because that perfect 4 only happened one time. It only happened one time, whereas the trend in the grade was about a 2.5. So that one incidence of a 4 is going to move it up. But it's not going to move it up probably as much as you would hope that it would have moved it up, because you've already got that trend set in place from the previous class. Does that kind of make sense? It's a little bit surprising. Say that again. Right, exactly. The outlier, so it moves towards the outlier, but not that much. I bring this up because years ago I had a student in my 243 class. Awesome student, was kicking butt. I had him in Math 95, I had him in some other classes too. And he was applying for a scholarship, and they said, your GPA is too low. I said, your GPA is low? How is your GPA low? So I went back and looked at his transcripts. He had tanked his first 2 terms here. He had tanked his first 2 terms. And then he started getting straight A's. A's and high B's. So he was getting 3.7s and 3.6s and 4s. But because his first 2 terms were so bad, he couldn't get his cube out of the gutter. So I wrote a letter of recommendation for him for the scholarship, and I said, look at his overall transcript performance. And I proposed 2 other measures, a grade point median and a grade point mode. I hope we have time to talk about this in this class. We'll see how time goes in here. A median and a mode are are more resistant to outliers. They may ignore the outliers. His grade point median was around a 3.9, and his grade point mode was a 4.0 because he had gotten most 4.0s. He ended up getting a scholarship, which was awesome. But this is the problem with the GPA. The problem with the GPA is it is unduly influenced by outliers. So you can have one term when you totally tank performance-wise, and it can pull you down, and it might get hard to get back up. Conversely, if you're kind of an average or you're kind of a middling student and you crush one term, yeah, your cube goes up, but it's like, oh, it didn't go up all as much as I would have hoped, especially for the effort that I put into it. But that is what an average is. An average is showing you your typical, if you will, that middle ground that you're averaging, so to speak. Yeah, Dave, please.
Is there a college out there that does an cumulative GPA of like every school, like every credit you've ever earned in your life of schooling?
When you say you mean one particular student?
As in you, yeah, like.
Like, if you went here and then somewhere else, would they calculate the cum based on everything you've done here and there?
No, I mean like your whole schooling career since grade
Oh!
1 all the way to now.
I mean, you
hope
could.
not.
You could do it. You could do it. It could be done, right? It could be done. You can do that. But the question is, why would you do it? Because the thing about that is, you're losing the trend at that point. You're losing the trend. At that point, you're not... See, because students could potentially get better over time. Suppose a student starts as a C student and ends as an A student. Assuming the courses are weighted relatively equally, that's a B student on average. I want to see the trend from here to here. So I'm not sure why we would want to. You could totally do it mathematically. But you have to agree on the... You'd have to agree on the weighting of the credits, too. I proposed a few years back here at COCC keeping track of committee work by using something like this. For certain committees that